So, respected teachers, senior pediatricians, and dear students. So, we will be continuing this week's Empower the Generation next bi-weekly postgraduate teaching session. So, this week, with a lot of pride and pleasure, I would like to welcome Dr. Santosh Kumar Esa, former head of the Department of Pediatric Society and current president of the IAP Tirunelveli. Dr. Manju, DNB student from Cosmopolitan Hospital, will be presenting the case. Manju. Share in, Manju.
Good evening.
Can all please switch on the videos just to make sure that they are not sleeping? Kiran?
Yes, sir.
Ask all of them to switch on the video.
Okay, sir.
So that we will know that they are listening to this.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everybody. I'm presenting a case of Sethu Madhavan, 2-year-old boy coming from Marthandam. Informant is mother and history is reliable. They came for a regular checkup and they had a history of positive movement of left upper limb and lower limb from 8th month of age. Since it is starting in the infancy period, I would like to start my history from antenatal.
Manju, where did they come for regular checkup at 8 months? They must have come with this complaint, no?
Presently, the child is 2 years old, sir.
No, actually, your histories, they came for the regular checkup at 8 months. Sir. There is no regular checkup at 8 months. So maybe they have come with this complaint.
Sir, actually, the child is 2 years now.
That's okay, but what you said is at 8 months they came for the regular checkup. There is no regular checkup at 8 months. So they must have come for this complaint.
Yes, sir. Antenatal history. The child is the firstborn of non-consanguineous marriage. Mother was 24 years old when she conceived the baby. It was a spontaneous conception after 1 year of marriage. Pregnancy was confirmed by urine pregnancy test and she was booked at nearby private hospital. There is no history of previous abortions or stillbirth. She started taking folic acid after confirming the pregnancy. There is no significant events in the first trimester like fever with rash, bleeding, fever, drug intake, or any radiation exposure. In the second trimester, she had adequate weight gain. She felt quickening at 5 months and the fetal movements were perceived normally. She took iron and calcium supplements regularly. Ultrasound was normal. She was detected to have pregnancy-induced hypertension at 6 months and she was on medication from then on. No history of gestational diabetes. In the third trimester, nearing term, she had severe hypertension. There was no history of associated seizures or decreased urine output or bleeding along with this. There is no history of PROM, gestational diabetes, foul-smelling liquor or UTI in the third trimester. Coming to the birth history, the baby was delivered by emergency LSCS at 37 weeks in view of the hypertension in mother. He had a birth weight of 2.8 kg. Baby cried soon after birth. There is no history suggestive of birth asphyxia or respiratory distress. There is no history of NICU admission. And the baby was breastfed soon after and was roomed in with mother. Postnatal history. During the postnatal period, baby was feeding well. He passed urine and meconium within 24 hours. There is no history of any poor activity or seizures in the immediate postnatal period. Baby was detected to have a jaundice at day 3 of life and he was given phototherapy for 12 hours and discharged when the bilirubin level was normalized. After discharge, the baby was feeding well and active. He attained social smile at 2 months and was following object. He responded to sound. There was cooing and laughing aloud by around 4 months. Head control was attained at 6 months. Rollover by 6 months. He enjoyed mirror image at that time. Reaching out was also attained at that 6 months, and mother noticed he was using right hand predominantly. He started crawling at 8 months, and then mother noticed there was a lagging of left leg. The baby was not able to sit with support at 8 months. He had difficulty in holding toys in his left hand. He was able to lift his left upper limb at the shoulder. There is no history of seizures or fever with vomiting or rash. There is no history of any altered sensorium. There is no history of diarrhea with dehydration or facial puffiness, decreased urine output. No history of recurrent respiratory infection or cyanosis. There is no history of trauma. Also, there was no history of associated abnormal eye movements or drooping of eyelids or drooling of saliva. Hearing was normal. There is no history of nasal regurgitation or choking of feed. He had no difficulty in swallowing. He could turn his head from side to side and can protrude his tongue. There was no deviation of tongue noted by mother. The mother didn't notice any stiffness of limb in the left side also. There is no history of scissoring or difficulty in changing diaper. Only there was paucity on the left side. He could raise the left arm up to shoulder level and had difficulty in holding toys in his left hand. While crawling, there was dragging of the left lower limb. He could roll over from supine to prone and prone to supine. No history of any involuntary movements. They consulted at the hospital for these complaints, and he was evaluated and informed that he had stiffness and weakness of the left side, and they advised to give physiotherapy, and the child was started on some medication. At present, the child can sit without support, stand without support, walk with handheld. He can talk in 2-word sentence. There is no hearing or vision abnormality. He is not toilet trained yet. No history of constipation, no history of recurrent respiratory infections, or no history suggestive of any contractures. Immunization history. He is vaccinated according to the National Immunization Schedule. Optional vaccines not taken. Development. Present development status is he can walk with support. Fine motor, pincer grasp, he has attained pincer grasp and can release object on demand. Personal and social, he can point to 3 to 4 body parts, listen to song and stories. He speaks most of the words that he hears and can say 2-word sentences occasionally. A dietetic history, the baby was exclusively breastfed till 5 months, and complementary feeding was started with ragi. Required calorie according to modified ICMR is 1100 and protein is 25 gram. The baby receives 1150 calories and protein of 25 gram. There is no calorie and protein gap. Family history, the mother is 27-year-old now. She's a housewife. Father is 32 years. He's working as a clerk. No history of seizure, neurological illness, or developmental delay or neonatal death in family. Socioeconomic history, they belong to the upper middle class according to the modified Kuppusamy. They live in a Pakka house. There is no overcrowding, and they have good sanitary facilities. This presenting history of presenting complaints and history is a summary for it.
From this history, what do you gather? You said in the antenatal history, rash. There is no history of rash. But what else also you could have asked? Rash, you said.
Joint pain.
Why joint pain?
Rubella.
Rubella, okay. It can be chikungunya also. Chikungunya can produce fetal effects. But apart from that one, apart from rubella, suppose it is for toxo, what should you ask for?
Contact with cats.
Yeah, that's one thing. And second thing is swelling of the neck.
Lymph nodes.
And another thing is trauma. History of trauma. You described history of trauma in case of baby. But in case of mother also, that is important. Suppose there is a trauma and some vascular event happens. So that lymph node swelling and trauma could be added to whatever you have said. And then no birth issues, right? You said jaundice at day 3. What could be the reason?
Probably physiological jaundice, sir. As it is a day 3 jaundice, and it was relieved with phototherapy of 12
So
hours.
what are the characteristics of, you think you require phototherapy for physiological jaundice?
No, sir. If
Okay. So what are the characteristics of physiological jaundice?
physiological jaundice usually presents after 24 hours.
Why after 24 hours? Why not before 24 hours?
Levels will not rise that much because physiological jaundice, the bilirubin levels will not rise
Yeah,
very much.
physiologically, yes. Physiologically, clinically detectable jaundice is unlikely. Yeah, so if you examine bilirubin, it will be raised. You will get a value of 1.5 or so. But clinically, you will not detect that in a newborn. Okay, right. Then you described rollover. But since you have a diagnosis in mind, did you ask whether rolling over was to both sides or only one side? I think
No, sir,
that also is possibly in this particular case, because you said your diagnosis to me. Then you said no seizure. In the newborn period, what are the things that you will ask for? Because mother may not know that this is seizure.
Sir, actually the seizures will be unresponsiveness. Then
Manju, the commonest seizure in a newborn is a subtle seizure. So what are the manifestations of subtle seizure?
Sir, lip smacking, that movement.
Yeah.
Then vacant staring.
Kind of cycling movements?
Cycling movements.
Okay. You said in the postnatal history also, you said there is no rash. Why in postnatal no rash, that history?
Sir, certain viral fevers can...
Which one?
Chicken pox.
Not chicken pox. It is herpes simplex. That will produce lateralized damage. So that can produce one-sided abnormality. Okay. Then regarding your higher functions, actually, what questions did you ask to know whether his cognition is fine?
So the chronology of attaining the social and social milestones, like social smile, and then following of objects, then like recognizing mother, laughing aloud.
Those things, except for that sitting and standing, appears okay. So
yes,
at that age, that development may be a surrogate of your brain growth. But then higher cognition, how will you comprehend? Because subtle abnormalities, you only expect subtle abnormalities if it is an intrauterine event. Why? Why subtle abnormalities if it is an intrauterine event causing hemiplegia?
So brain is developing.
Yeah, so the so-called plasticity of the brain. So most of the functions will be taken over. So how do you know whether is it a left-sided or a right-sided weakness? I forgot.
Left-sided weakness.
Left-sided weakness. Okay, that means right side of the brain is affected, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what will you ask? Like listening to music, like you crack a joke and whether the child is enjoying it, because those things requires a little higher level of cognition. So those sort of questions also is useful in this situation, right? Okay. Go ahead.
Summary of the...
Summary will... have it at the end. Go on.
Examination. The child is a playful, happy child, lying supine. On supine position, a plantar flexion of the left lower limb was noticed. Vital signs: pulse rate was 108 per minute in the right radial artery, normal in right rhythm and character. All peripheral pulses felt equally. There was no radiofemoral delay. Blood pressure was 90/60 in the right upper limb with age appropriate cuff. Respiratory rate 24 per minute, abdominal thoracic. Temperature normal in the right axilla. There is no pallor, icterus, clubbing, lymphadenopathy or edema. Anthropometry, the baby had a weight of 12 kg, coming to 50th centile according to IAP group chart. Height was 86 centimeter. It was
Okay, it's
also
fine. You can skip. You can skip.
development, gross motor. Currently, the baby can walk with one hand held. There's a development of about 12 months, so the development quotient comes up to 50%. Fine motor, the baby has attained pincer grasp and can release object on request. This is also around attained about in 12 months of age, so the quotient is 50%. Language,
This is from history, is it not?
sir.
So, did you do a development assessment in general examination, or you are relying on this one only?
Sir, I did a developmental assessment and tried to make the child to walk and gave him a pen to grasp and asked to give objects, gave him cubes and all.
Is he doing any drawing, lines, or horizontal line?
When he was even he was trying to scribble, sir.
Okay.
Randomly.
Right. Go ahead.
Language, he speaks almost all words that he hears, and at times he says two-word sentences. It comes to around 2 years, so the quotient is 100%. Social, when asked to point body parts, and when asked, he can point to body parts, and he interacts well. This around a development of around 2 years. The development quotient is 100%. Head to foot examination. Head size normal. There is no obvious facial dysmorphism, no neurocutaneous markers. Plantar flexion of the left lower limb was noted. Coming to the CNS examination, higher mental function. The child was playful, active, and interacting well. Cranial nerve examination, he could identify the smell. Vision appears to be normal. Fundus was normal. There was no ptosis. Eye movements were normal. No squint or nystagmus. Pupils were reacting equally. He could chew well. There is no deviation of jaw or corneal reflex was normal. No facial asymmetry. Nasolabial fold was preserved. No deviation of angle of mouth. No drooling of saliva. Eye closure was normal. Hearing appears to be normal. There is no nasal regurgitation. Uvula was central. He could turn head from side to side. No drooping of shoulders. He could protrude his tongue, and there was no deviation of tongue. Coming to the motor system, bulk of muscles, it was symmetrical bilaterally. Tone, the increased tone was felt in the left upper limb and lower limb. Spastic type of tone. There was normal tone on the right side. Power.
What are the methods by which you look for tone?
So, passive movement of the joints, and
the first thing is an observation.
sir, observation and palpation.
Observation, what will you find?
Posture.
Observing a child who's having this, your diagnosis of hemiplegia, what will you expect to find? When a normal child is lying supine, what do you expect to find?
Flexed post.
At 2 years, 2.5 years. There will be some fidgety movements, like they'll move randomly. But that random movement, if it is different on both sides, if the child has hemiplegia, one side will be sort of stiff without that random subtle movements. So that is one thing. And second thing is, of course, you will find any fixed positions like a plantar flexion or any contractures, if any. And on palpation, what will you find?
Muscle will be stiff, sir, on palpating.
Okay. And then on exam,
passive movement, when we do increased with an increased speed, there will be a catch initially and then a let go for spasticity.
So will you do fast flexion extension or
for spasticity, fast flexion extension is preferred.
But how do you know it is spasticity?
We can do both ways, sir. We can first do initially do a slow movement, then a fast movement.
That is a routine. You always start with a slow movement, because apart from spastic cerebral palsy, what is the commonest cerebral palsy? Next, number 2 is?
Dyskinetic.
Wrong. Number 2 is mixed. And that mixing, what are the types of mixed CPs that you know?
Spastic with atonic, spastic with dyskinetic.
Spastic and atonic cannot come together.
Spastic and dyskinetic.
Correct. And spastic and ataxic. In which condition you get it? Spastic and ataxic? Why do you not basal ganglion? Ataxia has nothing to do with the basal ganglion. Ataxia is from cerebellum.
Cerebellum.
So how come the pyramidal tract is connected with cerebellum to produce both these things together? In which condition you get it? A combination of ataxia and spasticity, in which condition you get? You get in hydrocephalus. Why in hydrocephalus? Because the ventricles are stretching, it will stretch the periventricular fibers, which is lower limb, and then cortico, what fiber? From cortex to cerebellum, what fiber? Okay, you can have a look at the textbook. I think it is there in my book also. You can just have a look at it. Okay. Then, so there are 3 types of mixed CPs. One is dyskinetic, and choreoathetotic. Between choreoathetotic and dyskinetic, which one is more common?
Choreoathetotic.
No, we hardly ever see now, because kernicterus is almost unknown now. So you do not get choreoathetosis. You generally get dystonic, and that's why you miss. Because along with dystonia, you can have a spasticity. So if you are looking only for spasticity, you'll simply miss dystonia. But if it is choreoathetosis, then it will click that there is something extrapyramidal, so I must look for the spasticity. So the point is that chorea part is not there nowadays. So it is basically extrapyramidal is dystonic. So when dystonia comes along with spasticity, then it will become a little difficult. And between dystonia and spasticity, what are the differentiating features apart from this slow and fast? Apart from slow and fast, you said is correct, but apart from that,
The tone will be increased throughout the range of motion in dystonic.
Suppose in examination your skill test and told you that this is tone is increased, and then when you examine the tone is not increased. What is your impression? One, of course, skill is trying to cheat you, but taking for granted that that is not being done. That is typical of dystonia. See, at one point the tone will be increased, at another point it will be normal or decreased, because varying tone, right? See, varying tone is normal in sleep. So spasticity, what happens to the tone on sleep? Manju, any tone will come down on sleep, any. So spasticity also will come down on sleep, but it will not disappear. Even on examination during sleep, you will find that child is spastic, but to a lesser extent. But dyskinetic means it may even disappear. The tone appears something like normal or even less during sleep. So during sleep, this extrapyramidal tone comes down, then varying tone. And varying tone is basically because of our emotional content. For example, you sing to the child starts enjoying, then the tone will come down. See, that is why when the candidate examines, the tone is always increased. But regular resident, he is always with the child and he plays with the child, and the tone will be less. So that is related to our emotional inputs also. So that is a tip. So when you find that there is a difference between what you have got and what the examiner got, always think whether there is an additional component of rigidity, right? Okay. Go on.
To the power, right upper
and the child's movement on history was dragging the left upper limb, left lower limb, right?
Yes,
upper
sir.
limb was okay.
Upper limb, he had difficulty in holding toys in left hand.
No, crawling actually requires both upper limb and lower limb, no? So they noticed only the lower limb being.
Yes, sir.
So which means, does it mean that upper limb is less affected than the lower limb? I mean, just my doubt.
It could be, sir.
Could be. Could be. So we'll try to correlate with our examination finding. And in the meantime, that crawling, what do you mean by commando crawl?
Commando crawl is using only arms without using the legs, with
so
stomach and
yeah, okay. In which condition you get it?
diplegic.
Correct. Go
on. Right upper limb and lower limb, there was grade 5 power. Left shoulder, adductor and abductor had grade 4. Forearm extensor and flexor had grade 4 power. Wrist extensor and flexor had grade 3.
Just 1 minute. Let me read this. So it seems as you are coming down to the distal area, the power is less. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Go on.
Superficial reflexes were normal, except for plantar, which had extensor response in the left side and flexor response in the right.
Suppose you got flexor on the left side also, will it change your diagnosis?
Sir, it can be flexor also.
Okay.
Deep tendon reflexes. Right side it was normal. Left side it was brisk. All left biceps, supinator, triceps, knee and ankle all had 3+. There was no clonus. Primitive reflexes were not present.
It's a little unlikely that all are 3+, because generally the knee will be slightly on the higher side as compared to ankle, unless of course the ankle is going for a clonus. Okay.
Primitive reflexes were not present. Sensory system, the baby appreciates touch and pain. There were no cerebellar signs, no signs of meningeal irritation, skull and spine normal, no abnormal movements, and other systems examination was normal.
What abnormality do you expect in spine? You said spine is normal.
Right.
Okay. If one side is weak, you can have a right scoliosis. Correct.
Summary.
Did you do any measurement of sides?
Sure.
Just to know whether both sides are equal or wasted or something.
Measurement was done, sir. It was only 1 centimeter or so difference. There was not much of a difference between the two sides.
And did you compare both the nails, thumb-nails?
I couldn't make out much of a difference when I compared. I actually compared, but
Do
couldn't
you
make.
expect? Do you expect?
Yeah, and the side with defect, there can be decreased growth, slightly hypoplastic thumbnail.
Why is it so?
Because on the that side is disabled early in the development, that because of decreased use, the growth in the distal part decreases. So
you mean to say that the same type of wasting is expected in acquired hemiplegia also, or is it going to be more in case of congenital hemiplegia? And if so, what is the reason?
it's seen in congenital hemiplegia, sir.
What is the reason then?
Growth in the distal part is affected because the insult has
You
happened
mean to say
early.
that the distal part will be more affected than the proximal?
Yes, sir.
See, it is basically what is the basic pathology of an acquired hemiplegia as compared to? Oh, okay, we'll come to the diagnosis. Right, sensory system is okay. What is your diagnosis?
So, shall I summarize, sir?
Yeah.
2-year-old child, male child, with history of paucity of movements of left side from 8 months of age. Mother had severe PIH in the antenatal period. Natal and postnatal period was uneventful. There is no history of feeding difficulty. Had gross motor and fine motor delay. Other domains were normal. No history of any other illness. Normal nutrition. No dysmorphism on examination. On CNS examination, there was hypertonia, hyperreflexia, extensive plantar response, and decreased power of left upper limb and lower limb. Other CNS examination was normal. Other systems normal.
Okay, the diagnosis.
Could probably be a static encephalopathy, spastic hemiplegic CP, functional grade 2, no seizure disorder, vision and hearing normal.
Static encephalopathy, hemiplegic CP, functional. What do you mean by functional grade 2? Tell me all the, how many grades are there?
4.
4. 5. 6.
5.
Tell me all the 5.
Child can walk normal on observation. He will be normal, but on neurological examination, there will be deficit in class 1. Class 2, we can walk with assistance.
Wrong. 2, the child will be, see, in grade 1, if child can walk, run, but only the abnormalities on examination, then grade 2 must be the child will be walking normally, but possibly cannot run properly. See, that way you try to remember. Grade 3 would be?
Grade 3, he will require an mobility assist.
No. You just want somebody to hold on to the hand and the child will be walking. See, because grade 1 was walking independently, right?
Yes, sir.
Grade 1, you said the child is walking and running normally and only neurological examination is abnormal. Agreed. If that is so, grade 1 has got to be the child is walking but possibly not running properly, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
the next grade would be child would be walking with a hand held. That is minimal assistance. And the next grade would be the child will require walking assistance. And the next grade will be he will be in wheelchair, right? How many grades? 3.
4, sir.
4, 5.
9.
4. Then the fifth one would be total
Totally
custodian
dependent.
care, which means that even the head control is not there. If head control is not there, you can't make the child sit. So the issue of using wheelchair is also not there unless you have a mechanical support over there. So that is how. So that you must try to recollect things in such a way. Otherwise, in examination you will fumble. Manju Mayaviyo, കാണുന്നില്ല.
Yeah, ഉണ്ട്, sir.
Your video is off?
ഇല്ല, ഉണ്ട്, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay. Devi Dilip, please switch off your mic. Okay, Manju is not seen. Okay, Manju, you can talk. You're not seen, but you can talk.
Manju കാണാം, sir.
Kiran is visible.
ഞാൻ
Manju ഉണ്ട്, sir.
Yes.
Video on.
Manju has come back. Right. Go on. Normal nutrition, 50%. Okay. Normal nutrition, no complications. Okay. What are the complications that you expect in a CP? Leave alone hemiplegia, any CP.
Neurological abnormality like seizure, speech disorders, sleep disorders, feeding difficulty, GIT abnormalities like feeding difficulty, dysphagia, GERD, then recurrent respiratory tract infection.
See, associations you must try to recollect from head to foot. See, head, you can have I asked you CP in general, not hemiplegic CP. So CP in general means you can have a microcephaly, you can have intellectual retardation, and you can have epilepsy, right? The head will be small, then within the head you have the brain, you can have a intellectual abnormality, you can have seizure. Then coming to the face, you can have the dysmorphic features. Eyes, you can have so many things which you did not mention, right from cataract to squint to visual abnormalities. What are the visual abnormalities possible in CP?
Diplopia can occur.
Diplopia. Why diplopia? Squint in cerebral palsy, is it concomitant or paralytic? Usually
Concomitant.
because the nerve or the nucleus is less likely to be affected, right?
Yes.
So concomitant, do you get diplopia?
No, sir.
Okay, right. Refractory errors, cataract, and even degenerative changes of retina if it is a congenital rubella-like thing, right? Then the size of palpebral fissures, both sides. For example, in hemiplegia, there will be some subtle change in the size of palpebral fissure between the sides, right? Okay. Then ear you totally missed. Hearing problem is common with cerebral palsy. Then coming to the mouth, also the commonest thing that you find in mouth is not really swallowing abnormality, it is the caries teeth. So caries teeth, swallowing abnormality, tongue thrusting. Then what else? Coming to the chest, what are you likely to find? Suppose it is a quadriplegic CP. In chest, what will you find?
Recurrent respiratory infection.
Okay, fine. Apart from that. Can you have chest wall abnormalities? Can you have changes suggestive rickets? Why rickets?
Poor nutrition due to poor nutrition, malnutrition can cause rickets.
You don't get vitamin D from nutrition, Manju. This
Yes, sir.
quadriplegic CP is always indoors. So there is absolutely no sunlight exposure. So unless supplemented, you will develop rickets. Okay. In abdomen?
Constipation.
Yes,
check in.
palpable, I mean, stool palpable masses may be there. Okay, go on. Regarding complications, what is your diagnosis? Your
Probably
diagnosis?
Congenital CP, so spastic hemiplegic CP. Probably due to perinatal insult.
Okay, what made you think it is perinatal insult? Before that, why there is no seizure in this? What is the usual cause of this hemiplegic CP? What is the pathology? Why it happens?
Usually due to perinatal insult.
Perinatal. Why perinatal?
Birth aspect.
Suppose you have a hemiplegia at say 1 year of age. What are the presenting symptoms?
Child can have seizure.
Seizure is so very common. So once you are born and you develop hemiplegia, seizure is almost universal. So now that the child never had seizure means possibly this is an intrauterine event. So, and in fact, the intrauterine event is more common because what is the reason, what is the pathology that is happening? Is it internal capsule or somewhere else?
It is focal and multiple ischemic event.
Ischemic event involving what?
Cortical or subcortical areas.
Why?
Particular blood supply area territories.
So which blood vessel is involved?
Mostly middle cerebral artery.
Middle cerebral. So middle cerebral artery means one hemisphere is gone, one parietal lobe is gone. So that is why there is decreased growth in that side, because parietal lobe has got trophic effect. So that growth will come down. And seizure, if this happens in the postnatal period, seizure is almost universal. But in a less developed brain, possibly it is cut off, and then possibly it is not part of your brain circuits. Then you can possibly escape the seizure. And whatever function that hemisphere is doing, because of the plasticity of an early brain, it will be taken over by the other side, and more or less functions are okay, but you escape seizure. So it is not a hard and fast rule, but if seizure is not there, it is less likely that it is a postnatal event. But as you all know, in medicine, there is now no black and white, as I always say. It's all shades of gray. So it could be that it could be a postnatal event also, or a perinatal event also, but it is more likely that it is a prenatal event. And that's why, because once it's a prenatal event and it is a either an embolism or a thrombus that is causing total shutdown of a middle cerebral artery, means that area is gone and there is no impulse coming from that area to cause seizure, right? So, I mean, because there is no seizure, I would rather vote for a prenatal event rather than a postnatal event. And now, taking congenital hemiplegia as a whole, which is common, a prenatal event or a postnatal event?
Prenatal events.
It is always prenatal event. So go with the common thing. So don't stick on to an uncommon thing and get it wrong. So most of the time it is a prenatal event. Nobody will ever know what happened. Only thing is that 8 months, 9 months, when the child is sitting, he is not stable. So, what is the difference between sitting of a hemiplegic child and a normal child? How will you know? You are given to examine and you see that the child is sitting. So you are given to examine to see whether the sitting is in any way compromised by the hemiplegia. What will you look for?
So the child will be support is weight on the normal side.
There is nothing called a hemi-sitting. No. The other side also definitely will have to, otherwise he can't sit. See, only the subtle hemiplegia can sit that early, like 8 months. In this child, it was at 8 months. So only subtle hemiplegia can sit at 8 months. Otherwise, it will be delayed, definitely delayed. Okay, a subtle hemiplegia like this child sitting at 8 months. So how will you know whether it is normal sitting or an abnormal sitting? So you try to jolt the child to one side, no? Yeah. So that is how you can know the stability of, or you offer a toy and normally he will hold with the right hand only, and another one you offer, he will either discard the toy from the right hand and receive the second, or try to lift the left hand and try to fall. And trying to lift the left hand is more likely because at 8 months of age, voluntary release is less likely, right? So that is another way of doing it. Okay, at 8 months, if it is at 8 months, then there is something called 180 or 360 flip or something, right? So how do you do that? If it is at 8 months, a bigger child, it may not be all that safe. Now that the child presented at 8 months, maybe it is possible.
The first thing to do is pull to sit.
No, Manju, the first thing to do is let the child remain supine and you observe. What are the things? What are the things?
Posture of the baby.
Okay. Posture of the baby. What are the 3 things that you will notice? You do not know what the child is having. A child is lying supine and you are asked to examine in a OSCE station. You are asked to examine and comment.
Position of the limbs.
Yes.
Position of the head.
The
attitude of the limbs, like is it flexed or extended?
At 8 months, it will not be that flexed.
If he's moving all 4 limbs.
Yeah, he'll have a normal, what they call fidgety movements. That is normal. But if there is any abnormality between 2 sides, compare 2 sides and see whether one side is a little bit moving less or so. And the third thing would be the SMA type of lower motor, where you have a bright face, but you remain totally flaccid and not moving at all. So that is by observation. And then on supine, will you do any procedure? You'll try to turn the head to one side and see for what?
Yeah, asymmetric tonic.
Asymmetric tonic, which you do not expect to be persisting at this age, at 8 months. Suppose it is persisting at 8 months, then it is abnormal. It is abnormal. Whether it is CP or not, we do not know. It is abnormal. But instead of this, say, 8 months, let the child be 3 months. Then how will you look for this ATNR, and what will be your inference?
At 3 months, ATNR will be present, sir. It disappears usually by 4 months.
Okay, so is there any way you can detect ATNR, abnormal ATNR at 3 months? When does it start, Manju? ATNR? Birth? Before birth?
34 weeks.
Wrong. You just look up. Okay. Is it present in newborn? Have you ever seen it in newborn? Immediately after birth? Anyway, just note down and look up. Okay. My question was, at 3 months, how will you know, because this child is suspected to have a CP, how will you know the ATNR is abnormal or normal? See, when you turn the head to one side, there will be fencing sort of posture on the same side, normally and abnormally at 3 months. But normally, if you keep on keeping the head that way, the limb will flex and come back. But abnormal will remain like that. So that is called obligatory ATNR. Obligatory ATNR is abnormal at whatever age it is, right? Now, let me rephrase my question. At 8 months, you are examining, and now there is no obligatory ATNR, but there is an ATNR. What is your comment?
It's abnormal, sir.
Very good. At 8 months, any so-called seemingly physiological ATNR is also abnormal. So am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Then what else will you look for in supine position? When you turn the head, what else do you expect? 8-month-old child?
He can roll over.
The body tend to follow.
Follow.
So whether that is happening or not. Okay. Now the next step is?
Pull to sit.
Pull to sit. How will you do that?
By holding on to both hands of the baby.
No, actually you offer your fingers to the palm, so that if there is an obligatory palmar grasp, that will act. But don't try to pull the child with that grasp. You have to put your fingers somewhere around the wrist of the child and then pull, because the palmar grasp at 8 months is never strong enough to support the body. So don't go for that. Okay, you have pulled, and what is the thing that you are going to find?
There is no head lag.
Okay, either there is no head lag, and if it is a CP child, there is going to have a head lag. Okay, right. Then
we can observe the child in a sitting position.
Right. And in sitting position also, you can try to do a swaying movement. Yeah, right. Then, or you can offer a toy and see whether he is stable without, on turning, turning the body. Okay, then.
Next is taking the baby into vertical suspension.
By axilla.
By axilla.
And what do you find?
Normally, the limbs will be flexed. And if there is a
Limbs will not be flexed. Actually, there will be flexion extension type of movement.
and if there is a weakness like in hemiplegia, there can be a plantar flexion. Then scissoring can be seen if there is
In
hypertonia.
hemiplegia, plantar flexion and
Scissoring in quadriplegic, spastic quadriplegia, and diplegia.
Okay.
Diplegia.
Okay, you can get it in both. Only thing is you can't have a scissoring in hemiplegia. So in diplegia also, you may not get scissoring always. You may get just forced extension. That is more common than scissoring. Scissoring is in a more severe situation. But one important thing is the hold that you feel in the axilla, which you missed, because that is very important. For that to appreciate, you must know what is a normal sort of hold that we expect in axilla. So whether it is slipping through or holding normally or whether it is stiffer. Okay. Then?
And next is ventral suspension, supporting the baby on abdomen.
Okay.
Here we can see the attitude of the head, whether the baby is holding up his head, and then the spine, and then we can check for reflexes like Galen reflex, Landau, parachute reflex.
But if they, how will you know whether this child extending the neck is normal or because the child is CP? Gross CP. No, I mean, it is not subtle CT. Subtle CT, yeah, of course, you will get normal.
The baby will get tired, can't hold up for a long time.
No. These the answers are all very standard answers. You just give the answer as paradoxical head lift, which means during our pull to sit, there was head lag, and now it is holding that. So that is paradoxical. So just that term is enough. So these terms are all. I mean, the advantage of that term is once you give an answer as paradoxical head lift, there will be no more questions. Otherwise, there will be question like, what is that? What is this? So in exam, it is always close the chapter and proceed. Okay. Then?
Look for the reflexes.
No. You don't go for Galen and all. You just leave it. And now what is left?
It is a prone position. You place the baby in the prone position.
Okay. But there is something called a parachute reflex, no?
Yes, sir.
Is it part of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how do you do that?
Suddenly, while on ventral suspension, suddenly lower the baby.
And what happens?
And then
in this particular child, what do you expect? In this particular child,
there will be asymmetry.
Very good, asymmetry. Correct. But the parachute may not appear at 8 months, but that is okay. Suppose it is there will be asymmetry. Okay. Right. Is there any more slide?
Sure.
Okay, now this is the last slide, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now discuss the case.
In further approach, sir.
Discuss the case means ball is in your court. You can talk about this case.
Mother comes with complaint of.
Sir, we now know the total history, physical examination, even the diagnosis. For example, you start with saying that possibly this is a prenatal event because there is nothing to suggest any natal or postnatal event. Right? Postnatal event can it be CP? For example, at 1 year something happens, will you call it at CP? Suppose at 10 years, suppose at 1.5 years it develops herpes simplex encephalitis and now has got hemiplegic CP. Will you call it CP or something else?
Can be called CP because it is not, if it is non-progressing and the brain is developing, then
correct. Otherwise, normally we tend to call it encephalitis sequelae. But if encephalitis sequelae comes in a developing brain, you are justified in calling it a CP. Correct. Okay. Discuss the case.
Baby is having a hemiplegic CP, probably because he suffered a intrauterine insult, and now he has weakness and but the cognition and
Is it possible that the child got COVID, mother got COVID, which was undetected, and the baby is now having hemiplegic CP? 8 months now. At that time, it was the first wave.
COVID, there are many evidence of transplacental transfer and congenital.
Can the child
Thrombosis.
postnatally can acquire, right?
Fortunately, he can acquire. So, this is a possibility, but
So you mean to say that the child will have hemiplegia following COVID?
rare chance.
Manju, these answers must be very, very specific. The answer must start like COVID is a procoagulant infection. It is known to because of endothelialitis. And in adults, it does produce, but not in child or newborn. That is the answer. That seals it. So in a child, you don't really expect. That's it. Okay.
The baby is currently having weakness, more of a motor weakness, and other vision, hearing is normal, and cognition is also good. So
actually, you must go in a positive note. Like this is a hemiplegic CP, but the weakness is this much. But the advantage is there is no seizure. His cognition is fine. His what else is there?
there is no regression. He is acquiring milestones.
According to you, there is no difference between the sides also. So as the child grows up, there will not be any disfigurement, and there is no visual or auditory impairment. So the prognosis is going to be good. And what are the things to be done? Right now, is there any plantar flexion or equinus deformity?
Yes, plantar flexion, sir.
Oh, it is there. So
Yes,
there
sir.
must be contraction, right?
Couldn't elicit contraction, sir.
So can you describe the position of that limb?
It was extended, and there was a plantar flexion.
And Manju, if your left leg is plantar flexed, what will happen to the knee?
Will be
It has
it
got
will be
to
extended.
flexed. How can it be extended? Then the limb will not be in that position. Limb will be laterally placed. Otherwise, how can you account for that length? You said both limbs are of same length, and one limb is plantar flexed. So then how can you accommodate that length? Only by flexing the knee. So generally there will be some flexion of knee, some flexion of hip also. But others also is possible. But what is there in this child is what I am asking. Okay. So actually, this child requires some physiotherapy, right?
Yes, sir.
So what will you do?
He is undergoing physiotherapy from 1 year of age, and first he is
Who is doing the physiotherapy?
a developmental therapist. Is there?
No therapist. Mother should do.
Mother.
If you want a result, mother should do.
Mother should, yeah.
Because this is going to be, for example, during bathing, during play, during all these activities, she should be manipulating that ankle. Otherwise, ultimately, you'll end up in contractions. Okay. What else?
He should be screened for development of any complications like learning disorders or
Why do you want to monitor? You intervene now. More of sensory stimulation, more of motor stimulation, more of cognitive stimulation, right? It is not that you follow up after 6 months and find that there is something abnormal. No, you intervene right now so that after 6 months there will be nothing. Because this child is going to be nearly normal. So we have to sort of enhance that process. Okay, anything more to add? When you are asked to discuss the case, you must start talking. That is very important. Okay. Any other thing regarding nutrition and all? There should be no problem because this child is normally nourished. So there should be no issues. So any queries? Let me see whether I have noted down anything. No, I have noted down anything. And further treatment options we need not discuss, like muscle relaxant, botulinum and all have no place in this child. So we are not discussing. Okay, any queries from anybody? Kiran, shall we wind up?
Yes, sir. Chat le vera doubt on idhara vanditilla, sir.
Okay. And next time you must ask all of them to switch on their video.
Yes,
They
sir.
cannot. They cannot be Mayavis.
Sir.
If somebody is Mayavi, then exclude them. We don't want them there.
Okay.
Okay. Right, Manju, it was a reasonably good presentation. Good. Only thing is you must be a little more fluent in discussions. Right. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you once again, Santosh sir, for the excellent teaching session. Thank you, Dr. Manj. So we'll be winding up the session. Good night, everyone. Thank you.